you can go to FAO Schwartz and make Muppets. Hello! And you basically pick the hair, the eyes, the body, the nose, and the clothes. And so I calculated it out. There are about 75,000 different Muppets that you can make. The main problem that people have when they're doing Muppets, I know, is that when the Muppet talks, they tend to close their hand. You have to sort of think open as when you want to talk as opposed to close. I wrote a book called The Fortune Cookie Chronicles, which is about how Chinese food is all American, because there are more Chinese restaurants in this country than McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, and Kentucky Fried Chicken combined. I spent like a good deal of my life exploring kind of like fortune cookies and General Tso's chicken, chop suey and egg rolls and the Chinese takeout boxes to unravel the myths of what is Chinese and what isn't. Chinese people don't have fortune cookies. I'm kind of surprised how many talks I'm still giving, given that the book came out 2 years ago. We as authors understand like the R&D. We like created this product, but we don't really understand how much sales and marketing is as proportionate a share of what you're doing. It's almost been sort of equal in terms of how much time I've spent doing the book as a product and like kind of actually promoting it. One book this year. I think the book to read is Half the Sky, which is about women in the developing world. And it's by Nick Kristof and Cheryl Wu Dunn, who were my colleagues at the New York Times. And a lot of people argue it could be the silent spring of our generation, that is sort of this wake-up call. You could also get some of the same information by reading some reports from the Council of Foreign Relations, but it doesn't have the same kind of narrative pull. Never Tell Our Business to Strangers is written by Jennifer Massia, who is a clerk at the New York Times who used to sit behind me. And it's basically about how when she was an adult, she discovered that her father had been convicted of murder. And actually her mom, who had been a church volunteer working in a prison, went to volunteer, met her dad, and fell in love. When she was young, one day the FBI came to take him away because he had violated parole. And you know, she's like 5. And they're like, where are they taking Daddy? And they're like, oh, they're taking Daddy to like camp, I think was one thing, or they're like, oh, this is just a movie. And you're 5, you're like, oh, okay. So there are 2 funny problems about having a Kindle. One of which is if you go to a book signing, what do you have the author sign? And the other thing is it's kind of dangerous to bring it into the bathroom and bathtub, right? So you can't do the whole like, let me go into the bathtub and read type thing. So that's sort of strange. I love taking the sample chapters, which are free. So it's like dim sum. But I definitely, I think, have spent more money on books because of the Kindle than before the Kindle. Because you can like spontaneously buy something in a way. And also books are big, you know, and they're heavy, and then you feel bad because they're there. I mean, there have been some books where I've read them on the Kindle, but I'm like, you know, I want that for my shelf because it's sort of like, it says I'm the kind of person that read this. So the Hemmingses of Monticello, which is about the Thomas Jefferson's longtime mistress, Sally Hemings. It's like a book you want to have that says, I'm serious and intellectual and historical and like race conscious. These are all of the books that I have on. So I have Game Change, which is about the 2008 election. I have Union Atlantic, which is this novel that is by a friend of mine, Adam Hazlitt, and Too Big to Fail, which is by Andrew Ross Sorkin, about this sort of, you know, economic banking debacle meltdown at the end of 2008, which is quite good. This is the other interesting problem with the Kindle. Like if you're on the subway, no one can tell what you're reading, right? Whereas if you can often look over to someone and say, oh, he's the kind of guy that reads like Union Atlantic by Adam Hazlitt, and you can say, oh, that's a great book, right? So there's not anything you could to spark a conversation. There's less of a serendipity aspect of conversation.